Julia.
Yeah.
Good morning, Rabbit. Good morning, Julia.
Yeah, good.
All right. So this is really a basics class. We are going to practice brush strokes. We're going to talk a little bit about color theory. We're going to talk about materials and how to use them. And you're going to start to get yourself acclimated to how the watercolor works, because it's very, very different than acrylic. And there's so there'll be some discomfort perhaps as we like switch over, but also some of you are going to be like, oh my God, I never knew we could do this, right? Like, so it's all about materials. What do our materials offer us in terms of what we want to do, right? What you want to convey. So these things are tools, just like anything else. And there'll be some sort of adjusting as we get used to them. But I think you're going to find the tool of watercolor is very specific and very unique and wonderful, kind of different. All right, so I'll start with, so this is my palette. There's a number of ways you can have a palette. You might have one of those. I don't have any specific requirement. And I'm cleaning it off right now with water and a little paper towel. This is from last night's class. I just forgot to do that. So so for those who are using tubes like me, you're actually going to wind up with something that's a lot like how, the little pats, right? Because each of these has a different color in it. And some of these colors have been here for a while. So what happens is watercolor dries really quickly. So I keep my little, my watercolors the same. I keep the colors the same all the time, right? In each little container. And then when I'm done with the class, I can just literally fold it up and then reopen it. You'll find, because of last night's class, you can see there's a little bit of colors mixed together. So I'm taking like the top of this wet paper towel and kind of scraping them off. For those of you, so for, like I said, people are using different things for doing this. There's a lot of different ways to do this. I like this one because it's got at least 4 places I can mix colors, because this is where you do your mixing before you lay it down. And it's got a lot of containers. So I can actually, as you can see here, I've actually written down which are the colors. So this is where they are, right? And back here, I've like written down which colors they are. So you can actually write, and if you don't have, if you don't have a plastic thing you can write on directly, take a little piece of tape like this, and put it underneath and write Cerulean Blue, right? So that you remember what the color is. So you can kind of keep track of your colors. It helps you start to remember your colors. I clean this out generally before I use it again, because we want the colors not to mix together. I'm looking here, I can see my yellow's a little bit murky. So I'm kind of dusting off the top with a little bit of light yellow. And let's see, I'm running out of burnt sienna. It looks like
we have Delhi in the house. Nidhi is in.
What's that?
Yes. Nidhi. Yes.
Good.
I think she's logged in. Yes.
Oh, excellent. Wonderful. Yay. We've got Delhi contingent. So let's see. I'm going to fill in a little bit of, this is Phthalo Blue. Yep. So my Phthalo Blue is here. Right. So I'm trying not to mix my colors up, and then whatever I don't use will dry and I can reuse it. So that's the idea. So even though I use tubed paint, and there are reasons for that, which we will get into, and here's Cerulean Blue. Let's see. I like this one. Even though I'm trying to get my tubes of paint out, it's been a long time since I've used them. It's been a couple of months. Here we go. I'm going to get a little extra paint out here. Get on in there. Even though, as I said, like there are reasons I like to use tube paint, which we'll get into as we start painting various subjects. It is true that you'll wind up with something that's like the pats, right? The dry or the semi-moist paths. So you can do that. But the important thing is to have several places you can mix, places that you can put your colors, something you can clean up fairly easily. Does anybody have a question about that? So here are materials. We're going to talk about color in a minute. Let's talk a little bit. You all have watercolor paper, I assume. We'll want a couple sheets to date. So along with your watercolor paper, you're going to want another piece of paper. It does not have to be watercolor paper. I usually use printer paper, like scrap paper. This has, I don't know, some tax document on it. And I'll put that over here. Actually, let me see if I can pull this up a little bit so you can see it better. Or perhaps down here. You're going to do a lot of testing with watercolor. So before you, the trick with watercolors, well, one of the many things about watercolor is that if you go too dark, you cannot erase it. So the challenge with watercolor, like ink, right? So I always have, so just like those of you who did ink, we always start by testing on a separate piece of paper. Or you can give yourself a little bit of like room here. You could do this, just give yourself a line here, and this is your testing, right? This is the part that's not the painting. This is the part that is. You don't have to use watercolor for it, but you are going to want to check on value and also kind of the level of your color mixing. So those things are going to be really important as you go forward. Having this extra sheet of paper here. And here, let me set up so you can see my setup here. And then here, right? As usual, I've got my water. You're going to see me reaching for that quite a lot. And I've got brushes. So let's talk about brushes for a second. Hold on. No, I don't want to do that. How do I do that? There. So here's the famous $25 brush. I use it for almost everything. I use it for 90% of my paintings. Of course, I paint pretty small, right? So I don't need a brush that's that big. I love this brush because it can do a kind of smooth, choppy, right? A smooth, thick line. It can also do a thin one. So go ahead and you should have one brush that's a little bit on the thick side, which is where you do most of your work. This is the La Perla 1/2 inch, the Escoda 1/2 inch synthetic brush. You can see that it kind of comes up to a single point. I myself do not prefer what's called a bright, which has a rounded edge. It leaves a kind of scallop mark that I don't like on the paper. I like having this sort of choppy, but you know, it's up to you to decide. So now I want you, and then the last 10% is done with these kind of little tiny detail brushes. So that's really what I will be using. You're going to explore what is good for you. Once you start working with, technically you could turn an acrylic brush into a watercolor brush. It's good to keep those, and I just lost my brush. Oh, there it is. It's good to keep those. But once you kind of dedicate brushes for watercolor, it's good to keep them dedicated for watercolor. So I even have like a couple of, you'll wash them just the same as acrylic. You could switch them over. You can use acrylic and watercolor brushes alternatively. We have not done oil. So for those of you who are doing oil, you cannot do that with oil. Oil brushes need to stay oil. They cannot be mixed with water-based mediums. There's some but it's good to keep some brushes. Actually, I guess what's the bigger truth here is, for me, I do different things with acrylic than I do with watercolor. So I require my brushes, my mark making, to do different things. So that's also part of it. It's like I don't like a smooth brush for my acrylic work. I like to have a thick, hefty brush, something like, let's see, something with a lot of bristles, right? Something that's like kind of scruffy on the top. I don't like my things to go up, but with watercolor, I have a different requirement. So go ahead and just,
Leah,
yeah.
I have a question about this flat brush. Like the sides taper, and see I have one where the sides don't taper. Does it matter?
I mean,
You know,
it'll
like your
be,
side
I
taper
feel
at the
like
end.
there's, I mean, it's a different mark. It'll make a different mark. So does it matter? It just depends on, you'll just need to use, hold it up again so I can see it, Sandra.
See,
Does
it's
it-
not tapered. It's not like yours is like.
Yeah,
more
mine
like-
is very tapered. I like that tapering because I feel like I have a little bit more control with my thin lines. You should try
Is
it.
it a
and
half
see.
inch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you should try it, but try it. See, you might like it. I think the taper gives me a little bit more, I can do the thinner stuff better.
Okay.
See, like that. So what I want you guys to do first is just take out a piece of paper. It's all going to be testing really, and start making marks. Notice how much you're like dipping your brush in the water. Lay some different colors down. Just play. You're going to see this is a very appealing. The reason people love watercolor is that it's so, the mark making is very immediately appealing. So I want you to spend just a minute doing that, playing around with that.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah. So we don't like, you know, squeeze out the water like we do in acrylic for
You will, but I'm not asking you to do that yet. I'm just asking you to get used to it. We're getting there. Yeah,
so just
you will.
you're just dipping it in the water and in the color, then in the water, and this.
We
because I
will
can't-
be squeezing it out, but I'm not asking you to do that yet. We
No,
will
I'm
be.
saying, how are you doing the lines right now? Are you
Oh,
dipping
right
your
now I'm just dipping. Right now
Okay.
I'm just dipping. Sorry, here, let me put my other screen up so you can see what I'm doing. So you can see. I'm just dipping and going, but that's a little too much minutia right now. I want you to just try them both, Rashmi. Try squeezing it with a little bit of paper towel. Oh, right. I should talk about the most important thing of all. It's the
Your
blankie.
paper towel.
My blankie. It's not a paper towel. It's your security blankie. It is a paper towel. It's totally a paper towel. This stays in my left hand, which is my non-painting hand all the time. So Rashmi, getting to that question, like you can squeeze the water out to get thicker lines, right? You can try just going back and forth to see what happens. We're going to do a lot of squeezing and cleaning of our brush, but not only that, if I go too dark and I get in quick enough, I can wipe some of it off. So you're going to see your blankie is not going to be far from you. You'll keep your blankie with you all the time. All right, good questions, you guys, as always. I'll be right back. You start practicing the feeling. Are you guys noticing all the robins starting to mark their territory? Are you hearing a lot of robin song right now? I'm curious, just curious. We've got a lot of it happening in my neighborhood right now. And the most beautiful robin song is always a territorial one. So he's just been all night. He's been tweeting all night long, all day, all night, just to say, get out of my territory.
What kind of animal there?
Robins.
Rabbits?
Robins. The
Oh,
robins.
Right.
Yeah. It's really cute. So they make these little cute bird noises. How is this feeling? Anybody have observations about it? Just, I'm curious to know how it feels, what you're noticing. You're noticing anything?
It's very easy to get a very dark kind of color without, I'm used to, with the acrylics, just dipping a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite thick what I'm getting. So.
Right. And so here's the thing. You're going to want to layer up those darks slowly, right? So learn that you don't want to go too dark too quickly. So your darks will be done. So notice how to make it. So play around with making it less dark, right? How do you make it less dark? You basically make it less dark by dipping your brush in the water. So you get some paint on your brush. So here's like, say, here is basic blue, right? Like that, quite dark. If I want to lighten that, I just dip it in the water. Sometimes I'll pull a little bit from here into here just to make it a little bit darker. What else?
Dries very quickly.
It does. So, and notice
it can be reactivated with water.
It can be reactivated with water. That is true. So you might try just putting a little water on to see what happens. Yeah, that is kind of fun. But also notice that because it dries quickly, you can layer, if you want to make something gradually darker, you can layer darker layers on top as it dries. So that's how we do. It's a lot like the way we worked with ink. The challenge is its color, and we're going to be, and a lot of watercolor is color mixing, right? We're going to be doing a lot of color. We'll be practicing that in a minute, but I want you guys to just get used to the feel of it. Also, isn't it just fun, like seeing what the new medium does, seeing what your brushes do?
I just made my paper wet, and then I just put a little line across it, and it's really interesting the way it sort of bleeds down.
It's bleed, excellent.
Oh,
That's fantastic. Now, Julia, you've just brought up a really interesting, that's a great idea. Try that. Make your paper wet. So there are different ways of teaching painting. There's a technique called wet on wet. Oh, it's not entirely true. I will have you do some wet on wet work, but there are like teachers who will have you actually soak your paper in water before you start. That is not what I do. Mostly because I don't really, watercolor is not my main medium, so I don't really know much about how to do it. Also, the teacher that I studied with didn't do that. He worked areas. We would often do sort of layers, but layered areas, but we didn't do that wet on wet because it's a little tricky to control. So, but if what you're trying to create is like, I don't know, a beach with a horizon line, it's good to know what you can do. I'm glad everybody's having a good time. Excellent.
Sit here.
Hi, Nina. Hi, Needy. Nice to see you, ladies. So let's talk about mixing and coloring. Color. I'm going to move this out. Coloring, like coloring in. So I'm going to, for some of you, this is going to be information that you've already heard, but it's important to review in painting. So I'm going to have you do this along with me. We're going to talk about a color wheel again. So as a reminder, there are 3 primary colors. I'm holding my blankie here and cleaning it and squeezing it out in between so I can get a clean brush stroke. You can see there really isn't enough time to take a palette knife and mix your paints. There really is not. That's an oil thing. It's not really a watercolor thing. So you got to do a lot of your mixing with your brush. So I've pulled out red. So there's red here. And now I'm dipping my brush in the water. I'm squeezing it to clean it out, dipping it in the water again. There is yellow. right? And then there is, what's the last color? What's the last
Blue.
primary color?
Blue.
Yeah, blue. I'm going to give myself a little bit more ultramarine here. Yep. So, and there's blue, right? There's blue. So go ahead and give yourself a red, a yellow, and a blue. Kind of arrange them on your paper like this. And here, let me take a picture to make sure you guys can see the color. Where are we? Landscape. There we go. So red, blue, and yellow, those are the primary colors. And then if I want to mix a color, get my blankie here. If I were to mix blue and red together, so here I'm taking a little bit of red here, and I'm moving it over to my palette, and then I'm pulling a little bit of blue and mixing them together. See that? Right here on the palette, so that I can put that here. I can place that here. So blue and red make yellow. Oh, sorry. Blue and red make purple. Hello. Right? I'm cleaning my brush out again, and blue and yellow make green. So in a separate location, I'm going to take some blue here, right? I'm going to pull some yellow. I'm almost always going to the lighter color first because I'm not really taking much time in between. You know, I'm not really cleaning up my brush in between. So it's important for me that I go to the lighter color first, then I pull the darker color in slowly to make a green. So go ahead and mix a green and place it here.
Oh.
Right? And then naughty kitties. And then the last one, of course, is red and yellow, which is orange. So I'm going to pull some yellow. So I'm going to another little pocket. So this is why I really love my little pockets, because I have to mix that here. So I'm pulling yellow. I'm going to need to get some more yellow on my plate in just a minute. And I'm pulling red here. And I'm putting it over here so I can mix it. Got it? So go ahead and make yourself a little color wheel that looks like that. Here. So this is your first experience. And look, I've got these 3 little mixes that I've done. They're separate. They're not running together, right? Because I've got these little compartments. Now, if I want to clear the decks for something new, I can clean it off. If I want to keep it for some reason, it'll dry in a minute and then I can make it wet again and pull it off again. So all the mixing happens here, or much of the mixing will happen here. And I just thought of something else we're going to do that we haven't done in the other classes. So and go ahead and send me a picture when you've got it. So if you, and let me get some more yellow here. If you sully up your yellow, for example, you can just kind of clean it up with a little sweep of your blankie. Let's see here. Yeah, Anik, nice. Yep. Julia, good. Good job. I'll wait for a couple of more. Right. So for those of you who are done, of course, the next step here, it always comes back to this with me. This is my basic rule, right? These are the complementary color pairs. Whoops, I'll put that up here. Right, so there's blue and orange. There's red and green. There's yellow and purple. So what do we know about complementary color pairs?
Is that they cancel each other into a muted gray.
When you
mix them.
Yes, when you mix them. They do not cancel each other when you put them next to each other, right? So there is the, whoops, let's see. Let me make a purple here. I ran out of purple. You'll find you run out of these quite a lot, so you're gonna have to keep mixing. Right, so if I'm putting a purple and a yellow next to each other, and I wanna clean my brush very thoroughly between when I pick up that yellow, because I don't want them to mix yet. If I put them right next to each other, which is what I'd like you to try to do with a hard edge there, you'll see they pop each other forward. Here, purple might not be dark enough yet. Let's get that going. Right, they will pop each other forward. So go ahead and give yourself a hard edge. Show the complementary color pairs right next to each other. So I want them to be right up close to each other. Sort of touching, maybe kissing, but not blending into each other. We want a hard edge. So that's why you see a lot of sports teams with these colors in schools, because they, when you put these colors next to each other, they pop each other forward. This is really helpful to know. Whoops. There we go. So I want you to start by creating complementary colors that are right next to each other, they're kind of kissing. They've got a hard edge. Let's see. Annika looks good. Rashmi, good. Sandra, great. And while you're doing this next step, I'm gonna go check on my boy. He's out looking at the squirrels. I'll be right back.
That's you.
All right. Good hard edges, Olga. Okay, so you know what the next step is going to be, right? Because as Sandra said, if you are if you are trying to create a muted version of the other color, you mix complementary colors together. So if you're painting an orange, like the fruit, you do not put black in your shadows. You're going to take a little bit of orange. Now, let's see if I can do it here. Orange, and you're going to mix it with a touch of blue. So now I want you to create kind of blended complements next to each other that show what happens when you mix your complements together. Now make sure you're cleaning your brush. That's why I'm showing how often I'm coming in and cleaning my brush in between. And if I need to clean my palette so I can make cleaner mixes, I will. So if I want to mix but you'll see that if you've got a little green here that you've mixed from before, it'll be really easy to pull it over into red. Of course. Green. Okay. Yep. So you should have something, you might have something that looks a little greenish, but there should also be, it should be a little bit gray. So you're starting to feel what you're really noticing, right? That you've got to, here. I'm hoping you're starting to notice that you've really got to keep your brush cleaner, mix kind of quickly. So these are the complements. This is when they're mixed together. And then the next exercise, what I'd like you to practice is starting with a clean complement on each side, like this. Here, hold on. Yep. A clean complement on each side, and then creating a blended edge in between. So you're going to do it a lot the similar way. So I want you to create a blended edge between the complements, where there's a light to the dark, where there isn't a strong, hard line. So you're going to find blending to be a particularly challenging thing to do, but we're going to need to start practicing it. So here is, whoops, my yellow is kind of murky. And it helps to have, just like with acrylic, it helps to have both sides wet when you do it. Right? So, and it often helps to do light into dark, but you can experiment with both. See how I'm taking this edge of my brush? So I want there to be a transition. And often one of the complements is lighter, the other is darker. We want there to be a transition, but no hard line. Not like this. These should look fairly different. It should look blended and soft. Oh, I did red and green. Okay, so I'll have to do blue and orange. Now. And then we're going to do one more startup exercise before we do our assignment for the day. I mean, all of this is assignments, but before we do our practice, we're going to do one more thing, which I should have thought of yesterday, but I did not. So this is why you guys always have the advantage at the end of the day, because you're the last. I've already taught it twice. So even though I'm not teaching the same subject necessarily, it's still, I still get better at it by class 3. Here, let me take a picture of this.
I'm eating my brushes.
So a lot of your mixing is done with the brush. which I think is hard to get used to. Oh, Diana is looking great. That's looking good, Nina. Okay, here's your little values. Here's your soft and your hard edges. So if you remember, this is a soft edge and a hard edge. And notice it's trickier to control the watercolor. Things happen. And for those of you who finish this quickly, the last thing you're going to do is with one color, you're going to create a value scale from 1 to 5. So, and what I mean by that is, let's start with the 5. So you're going to start with like the darkest, right here. You're going to start with a 5 here, and then you're going to make it a little bit lighter. It means you might have to come over to your testing paper to see, can I make this lighter? I want to see 5 values with the same color. Harder than it looks. Oops, see, that went too dark. I'm using this to pick up I am having this sort of additional problem that, so these two aren't too bad. So remember, you're creating 5 values from light to dark. What you're going to find is 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. What you're going to find is that you might have to layer a couple of times, and you're going to have to keep dipping your brush in the water to get lighter and lighter layers. Oh, oops, sorry about that. Let's try it again. So create yourself a values scale, create yourself hard and soft edges, mixing your complements. Once you're done with all that, then we're going to start on our assignment. So spend a little time. Ooh, Sandra, nice, beautiful blending. Sandra, you're right. This is like you're right. It's your medium. This is your medium. Beautiful blending, Julia. Good. Good. All right, so you're almost ready to, she's ready to jump in. Anik, looking nice. Good, good, good. Anik, I feel like work on your value. Well, practice with the values, I think, is going to help you. Okay, so it looks like some of you are done. So I'm going to show you the next step in this process. Hang on, and I'm on my last sheet of watercolor paper before I have to go in. I might just have to go on the other side here. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this, and then this is what you're going to be working on. You guys are going fast for the rest. So I'm just showing you this because a couple people are done. I don't know if you remember our old friend, the sphere. Here, let me remove this so you can really see it clearly. Give me a second. Our old friend, the sphere.
We can use a pencil for that, right?
You want to use a pencil for this, yes. You must, actually. So you're going to take a pencil, you're going to draw a circle, and then this straight line that goes on this edge and this edge. So this is the sphere sitting on the table. Here's the wall, here's the table. And the light is coming from this direction. So you're going to very lightly create a circle here, which you're not going to paint at all. And then you're going to very lightly mark out. With your pencil, you want to do this lightly because you want to be able to sort of slightly cover up some of your marks. But you're going to go from nothing, no paint here, because this is white, to light color. Nice, Olga, that looks great. To dark, to light color, to a bit of the color mixed with the complement and darker. And then here is the shadow. So in a values situation, this will be 1. Actually, let me label it outside. And then I'll show you how to do it. 1, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. This is a 2, and then this is a 5. So I want you to pick one color, say for example, red. All right, so here, hold on, let me show you. You're gonna start, and you're gonna need to do some testing. So you're gonna need here, I'm gonna need to pull this up so you guys can really see it. And maybe I should add. I'm going to start close up and then I'll do one where it's less close up. So you can see here I'm testing on the side. I want a very light color to go everywhere but this circle in the front, which I'm going to keep white. Okay. And so notice before I go in, very light color. I can bring that down into my shadow too. So I'm going to start with this super light color. Maybe darken it slightly. You see how I'm testing to make sure I'm keeping this white. Now I'm going to mix green. Actually, I've got some dark green here, so I might try. Where's my green? Ah, here you are. So I'm going to mix red with green to make a very dark color. Super dark. See how dark that is? Oh, you can't really see it here. Here, now you can see it. Super dark color. And I'm going to come in here over the top of this. Now notice I've come in, this is still a little wet. So there's a little bit of bleeding happening. So you may want to wait till it's dry because otherwise it's harder to make that hard edge. Okay. And when this is dry, or mostly dry, I'm going to mix a little bit of a lighter red and green, and I'm going to lighten it with with water. So notice I'm testing in here. I'm going to bring in this shadow. Oh yeah. So my paint is still a little wet, so there's some bleeding happening. So this is going to be trickier for me to control. And then I'm going to clean out my brush and I'm going to bring in some of just the red, but not too dark. I want it still to be lighter. I'm going to blend the edge, gradually making this darker. You're going to do that for the rest of the class. So I want you to find, and it's not easy, as you can see, I'm kind of struggling a little bit here. The edge is soft. This is not as dark as this. I want you to try with different colors. And I want you to create a soft edge. Now, the idea of this is not necessarily to create a satisfactory painting, because this is a tough thing to do in watercolor. But I want you to remember, if you're painting a lot of things, like say an orange, right? What is an orange but a sphere on a table? So I'll have my light area and then this coming here.
And Leah, so you mix on the paper, right?
No, I did a little mixing on the paper, but I mostly am doing my mixing in here and then testing it here and then laying it down.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So you do more testing to make sure you don't go too dark. So the real trick is to keep this 2-3 and this 3-4 and have a soft edge. You're welcome. Don't hate me because I'm making you do something really hard. Now I'm trying to show you sort of a pleasing, let's see, I'm trying to get to sort of a pleasant orangey color just to show you how this works, right? Like the orange. I mean, if I'm painting an orange, it's the same thing. I'm leaving this area light. Yeah, I could do a little mixing. Let's see what happens if I try a little mixing right here. Whoa. It's pretty dramatic. So I feel like that's a little bit too dark. So trying to mix directly on, you need to test first. Right? So there is an orange, and then there's a really dark shadow. The shadow is always darker. Right? So there's an orange. Wait, with a little thingy on the top. An apple, very similar. Although slightly different shape. Right? We've got this bit on the top here. Here is also our circle. I'm running into other things. Let's see how well I can do this. So this is a really relevant skill to practice, even if it doesn't lead to a super satisfactory result, because we're going to be using this a lot, right? You can do apples and oranges if you want, or you can just do spheres. See how much testing I'm doing? I'm just testing right on the side. Skipping over this light part, which I'm not painting at all. Also, you'll notice that the light parts of the sort of light parts, the parts that aren't painted of watercolor, are hugely important in a watercolor composition. It's easy to overpaint if you cover up the whole thing. So we're going to practice. That's why we're going to start next week with practicing with a white object. We're going to paint a white object so that you can see how much of the area we leave open. And you can let things dry in between. So there we go. There's an apple, there's an orange, there's a sphere. This is the wax on, wax off part of our lesson. Here, let me take a picture of these guys so you have them. So Julia, not bad, although I'm not seeing much of a transition between here and here. So that's the challenge. Ooh, Anik, very nice. They do, they want to learn. Little troublemakers.
It's very difficult to get any feedback.
They're excited. You know what? They're sensing your excitement about watercolor, Sandra. And they're totally like excited about what you're, so keep practicing this. I want you to fill your paper with spheres. Yes.
So the shadow needs to be into the complementary color. It can be any dark color.
No, it cannot be any dark color. It needs to be the complementary color. Thank you for asking.
Okay.
Yes, thank you for asking that.
Oh, Julia, that looks like a glass bowl. It looks great.
It's lovely. Yes, I can see this is gonna, you can see what a light touch this requires. You can see that there's a lot of points where you'll lose control, and that actually is kind of good, right? Like losing control. So it's a combination of, you want the control of, you want the control of the, I mean, the thing about that acrylic and oil that's really great is that if you don't get your mixes right or things get dull, you can just wait, let it dry, and then paint over it. And the bottom layers really support the top layers. With watercolor, you either hit it or you don't. Like you'll have a lot more failure, quote unquote failure in watercolor, just because if you go too far and too dark too quickly, you'll lose, right? Or your marks show up in a funny way, or you get too quickly into the paint and it bleeds in a funny way. So notice as these things dry, they'll lighten. So then you might have to go in and darken a little bit, right? So so watercolor is more hit or miss, but it also does things that nothing else. You'll be like, ooh, look at that little, beautiful line I just made, or look at these pretty little things that the drips just made. I wasn't even planning on that. So it's about skill, but also about what can I get that I wasn't expecting. I think yes.
Really, I think you just said that, but I'm not sure. This is not supposed to be complementary colors. It could be. They should be complementary colors. Oh, okay.
You should be mixing it. So when you pick a red, your shadow area will be red and green. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. That's what I thought.
They should be. They should be, because that's generally how we mix colors, right?
It's just when I do the red and green, it doesn't completely come out like a gray.
Well, then there's a little bit too much, like you're using a little bit too much of one color. Try adding a little water. Try using a different red, right? Try using a different green. All of those things. Remember, that's all about warm and cool colors, which we'll get into more when we start working with specific subjects.
Leah?
I love it. Yes.
So the shadow is the actual color mixed with the complementary. Is that right?
Indeed.
Right.
Right? Just like acrylic.
No, it's just after. So what's your main color going to be? Orange. Orange. Oh, okay. So I'm just trying to help us.
That's all right. You got it. You got it. And this is a hard exercise. This is not easy to get right. That's what I want to tell you right now. This is not an easy exercise. So we're starting off with something, or I want you to let go of the finished product and practice, because we don't really care if we paint our, like ultimately we don't care about it. We care more about our coffee cups and our animals and we want to get that stuff right. So, but this we're not caring so much about, right? So we can let it be a little bit.
Leah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I was actually mixing the colors and I just missed the instruction on this one. What are we exactly doing here? I'm sorry, I made the drawing of the sphere.
So this is 1. These values are 2 to 3. This is 3 to 4, and this is a 5. So your 2 to 3 is going to be, this is going to be nothing. This is going to be a color, red, purple, whatever color, blue, whatever you want to do. And it's lighter in the value is 2 to 3. This part is going to be 3 to 4, and it's going to be, you'll have to mix the complement in for this part to create a 3 to 4. And you're going to need to softly blend between 3 and 4 and 2 to 3. So there should be a transition going here. This is a 5. So this can be quite dark. So you're painting spheres.
Okay, so this 5 is complete, like, a lot of mixing of the complementary color with the main color.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And then less. Yeah. So this is like the darkest one. This is less dark. You're going to need to probably test here. You're going to start with a very light wash of the basic color on everything here. So you're going to start, except for the light area. So if you want to do orange, you're going to start with a very light orange wash all over except this light area. You're going to leave that blank, but you can put this everywhere, right? And then when this dries, you'll start layering in your shadow colors. I like to start with this one because it's super dark, so I can just take orange here and mix it with a bit of blue, strong. It can be strong and dark here, right? But if I go too quickly, notice if I go when it's wet, I get a little bit more blending than I would like. It kind of dilutes my color a little bit. So I might want to wait. I might want to just be mixing colors and wait. And then I'm going to be blending in slightly darker versions. But remember, this is going to stay. This is 1, so it's got no color. This is going to stay 2 to 3, just the color. And 3 to 4 is the color plus the complement. And it's not easy. Well, I shouldn't keep saying that. It's a challenge. It's going to take you another hour. It's going to take you this. I want you to, or let's put it this way. I want you to fill your paper with practices of this. And you notice you start your colors very light because you want to make sure that you don't go too dark. So here is just the orange and then a touch of blue. Hold on, I'll take a look. Right, then I get a touch of blue in here. So this gets a little darker and I also blend that in with the orange edge. And it's going to be dark. This is a bit dark, right? So maybe I want to take my blankie and pat it out a little bit. I want it to be dark, but not as dark as this. So I have options. I can darken this. But I can make this even darker. What you'll find is as the paint dries, it gets darker. It gets lighter. So you may have to layer several times. And you want there not to be a hard edge here. So you want this to be a solid. You'll find as you start to blend, sometimes you lose your values. You'll have to wait, layer in a little bit more dark color. It's fun. Olga, very nice. But I don't see, Olga, I don't see any red in here. I'd like to see, not bad, Needy. You've lost, so Needy, the thing is you've lost your hard edge here. So you want to wait until these colors dry so that you don't lose that edge. It looks right now like your apple is kind of dripping into your shadow. So you want to work on the harder edges. Oh, Anik, that's beautiful. Look at Anik's sphere. There is a slight lighter bit here, which is what happens, right? So you want a hard edge here, this lighter edge. You want to not bring your dark all the way down. There's a slight lighter edge. It's called the reflected edge, which is as something is moving away, it gets darker and darker. And then at the very edge, another light source hits it. So there's a little light edge. So you can see her edges are very good. Getting there, Sandra. It's hard, isn't it? I like this one the best. I think this one got it the best. It's tricky. But you can also layer in a little bit darker color when this dries. So you can also go in and try and darken a little bit down in here. This is why I have you practice it, because it's a whole thing. It's a thing.
Yeah, do you have much opinion about single pigments and things like that?
What do you mean?
I mean that apparently colors that are single pigments are easier to blend.
I don't think that's true.
Okay.
I mean, I just think, I don't know. I think it's I'm not sure that's the right question to be entertaining yourself with. You are experimenting with how your colors blend, right? Because you can see that. So I don't think there's really a rule. Maybe there's a rule, but it's not going to help you to know that now. What you need to learn is, work with your complements, see how they mix, right? Work with your colors, see how we mix. We'll talk about warm and cool later. We'll talk about what are the best colors. I have you guys have a list of the pigments that I prefer, right? And they're the same as what do you call it? Acrylic or oil, really, even. Ooh, nice, Emma. Nice. Look at how easy it is to lose it down here, though, right? You kind of lost your value shift. So see if you can get a little darker in here when it dries. We need a value shift, but you got it. You maintained it here, kind of got it a little bit here. So let yourself keep doing new ones. Let these dry. Work on those of you who are having this blending problem, this sort of squimming problem. Remember, this is a hard edge, so we need to work on that hard edge, making sure that looks hard as opposed to this, which will be soft. So this is the hard edge. This is a soft edge. By the way, you guys are doing great. And how does it feel? Does it feel kind of fun?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, painting spheres, it's sort of soothing. Let's see. Ah, there you go, Julia. Nice. See, that's a nice blend, you guys. Hard edge down here. Here, I'm gonna pop. Can I pop this up? Can I make that? There we go. Take a look at that. Hard edge, very clear here, light up here. Wait till we get into painting like lemons and things like that. It's so much fun. It's really fun. Actually, I think lemons is one of my favorite things to paint in acrylic, in watercolor. They always turn out so great. And the color mixing is really fun. Apples are fun too. But we'll get into all kinds of things. We're going to do all kinds of things. We're going to start with probably the famous coffee cup, a white coffee cup, or perhaps a white vase. I'm going to shoot some still lifes this weekend, so we have some practice, some things to practice on. We will be going to still life in, actually, we're going to be going to still life in everything, although different things. In beginning drawing, we're going to do still life for a couple weeks. Then in my painting class, we're going to work on copying a still life painting to see how to work. And I haven't decided which one yet. I'm narrowing it down to a couple. We might do like something fun, like a Cezanne, but I want we're going to actually copy a still life painting using either acrylic or oil, whatever you would like. And we'll start that process to start working with painting. We will walk up in the Sunday class to doing your own still life in acrylic or oil, which you will set up and then work on for several sessions. We're going to start by copying a painting just to see what other people do, how other people handle the still life. What can we learn from that? Hang on, I'll be right back. Oh my God, Sandra, I did what you said and I weighed Hermes on the scale with me.
Right.
He is 14 pounds.
Oh my God. You know he's going to grow until he's 2.
Really?
At about age 1, he's going to have his frame. And then from 1 to 2, he's going to fill it.
He's so huge. And it's funny because he acts like such a baby, like because he is a baby, but he's so huge. He's really cute. I just brought him in. He's been outside. Why don't I come say hello to everybody? Come here. Come here, boo-boo. Come here. Come here, my little baby. My big fat baby. Come here. Come here. Say hi to everybody. Of course, no. Now he doesn't want to say hi. But he is having a good time. He was just out watching in his catio, he can watch the squirrels and hear the robins. And
that's what they like.
Yeah. right? Because they're spending all.
Pretend that he's catching them, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Little killing machines, aren't they?
And he's, yes, and that's why he stays in a catio. He would kill everything. I know it. I know it. He's a killer, and I'm not going to let him do it. I don't. That doesn't happen here. His sisters apparently are half his size and killing everything on the farms.
Oh, really? Yeah, girls are usually smaller.
Yeah, they're half the size. And when he was very little, like totally little, he would get on his mom's breast and then spread out horizontally so no one else could get in.
So he was the biggest of the litter, was he?
He was the biggest of the litter and starving all the time.
That's what cats do. All cats starves all the time.
Right? They're hungry all the time.
Oh,
I think animals are like that actually in general, right? Like birds, I think, are probably like always thinking about food.
Yes, in fact, when I had the cardinal nest last summer, like constantly asking for food, and the parents constantly having to ferry some.
Oh my God, it's such a lot of work.
I have a bunch of hummingbirds, and we make our own stuff for them, and they're incredible. They just want to eat
all
the
day
time.
long. Us
Yeah.
too. We have a little tiny nest which is hanging off a low camellia bush, and so you can see it, like it's kind of a little bit above eye level, and it's the cutest little thing. It's this little tiny nest, and he sits in there, and he's either in there warming up or he is flying around. It's close to the, yes, buddy. Hi, you gonna come say hi? Huh? I heard you meow.
I have Julia in my lap, which makes it impossible to paint.
They're all
Oh my
troublemaking
God,
too.
they will never get used to us. If people have to go back to the work, the cats and the dogs are going to have such depression. Oh, Olga, that looks great. But Olga, you're still, I still don't see you using complements in your shadows. Oh, Nina, nice. Nice. There we go. But Nina, I also want you to, I don't see you using, I see you using complements in the core shadow, but I don't see you using a complement here. So you need to mix a little bit, this is red, right? So you need to mix a little bit of green with your red. Needy. So Needy, this is a little bit too hard. So this edge is great. This edge is really great. Good job with that. This edge is a little too hard. So if you can, and you got a little bit too dark. So maybe what you want to do is get darker down here. See if you can get darker down here and create that soft edge.
Okay.
Rashmi, this is too, so this is too dark. Okay. So yeah, just notice this is, listen, the whole point of this is not to do this well. It's to know how hard it is. You went too dark up here, which means you can't get dark down here, right? This dark is good, but this needs to be much lighter. Try again. Yeah. And there's nothing you can do really to fix that. Once you get too dark, you can always layer in. So these are, you can always layer in slightly dark. You can get a little bit darker, right? If I want to get darker here, I can, but I can't go lighter. So I'm constantly dipping my brush in the water so I can layer in. Oops, it's a little bit too dark. I don't want it quite that dark. So I'm adding more water here, see? So I can get a little bit darker here. And then maybe I can add a little bit of more color. But it's the struggle, guys. It's the good struggle. Yeah, even this got a little bit too dark. So I'm using water. We want that vibrant color. But it's easy to go too dark. So let it dry. If you've got something that just needs to get darker, move on to another. Let it dry and let it go back. But if you've got something that's too dark, just give up the ghost and try again. And even this isn't fantastic. I'm aware of that. So there we go. That's a little bit better. Softer edge. So you see how this like kind of gets from light to dark. So Olga, I want to see you mix complements into your darker colors.
I already sent a new photo.
Oh, you did? Good. Oh, see how beautiful that is?
Yes,
Do you
it's
see
better.
it? It's way better. Okay. Awesome. Although your white is in the wrong place. It should be over here.
Yeah.
Okay. So do it again with your right in the right place.
So Leah, blue and orange,
Yes.
that's all right. It gets a bit green.
Yeah, it can. Are you using Viridian? What colors are you using? Viridian green?
Oh
Use
no, I'm
less.
mixing. I'm mixing the blue.
Right.
I'm mixing. So I have a blue. I'm not using a green. I'm using a blue and an orange.
Right.
And it comes out green instead of
Mine
gray.
was different. Mine was
So
different
that
green.
means that you've got too much yellow or too much, right? So you want to add, right. So I know this is Sandra, this is the practice. You're going to need to keep modifying. Maybe you're using too much green. You need to use more orange, right? So this is the practice.
This is why I was asking you about pigments, because sometimes it makes a difference whether it's warm or cool or got too many.
Well, of course it makes a difference, right? Of course it makes a difference. But that's, I mean, we've had this conversation about pigments. Yes. So if you're wanting, you can try like mixing your orange from, so wait, you're mixing red and green, you said, or orange and blue?
No, I have orange and blue and it comes out green.
Right.
No matter
so
what.
You want to use a lot less blue. But what blue are you using? Are you using phthalo blue? Or are you using ultramarine?
Plot on what blue it is.
Right. So you're probably using phthalo blue, which would make it yellower. But also, you just got to use less blue. So here I'm here. You just got to use less blue. Use less blue. So here I am. I'm mixing orange in, and I'm pulling just a tiny bit of blue, right? Just a tiny bit. Then I have an orange, right? That's like orangey. Right? So you just use way less blue. But this, I mean, I just don't think the idea of pure or not, I just think that's not the right way to think about it. There's a warm blue and there's a cool blue. If you remember correctly, ultramarine is warm, phthalo is cool. Phthalo is going to be more yellowy. So that means you might get a greener like subject. Ultramarine is warmer. It's got a little bit more orange in it. So it's going to be less, you can probably get a less grating color. But mostly just use very little blue in with your orange to get something.
Just a different blue helped.
Yeah, or try a different blue. Like I think the ultramarine blue works better. So so do you guys want me to review the colors? What are the warm and cool colors? Do you want me to talk about that really quickly?
I think a warm, I've got more red in it, right?
Yes, warm has more red in it, which will help that. Well, so I'll just review the names. Ultramarine blue is the warm colors are ultramarine blue, cadmium red, cadmium yellows. The cool colors are quinacridone red or alizarin crimson are cool reds. Phthalo blue is a cool red, as cool blue, sorry, cool color. and lemon yellow or light yellow. Sometimes cadmium yellow light can also be cool yellows. So those are the cool colors. So if you're trying to mix orange with, if you're trying to work with kind of a warm orangey color, better to work with a warm blue than a cool blue. Cool blue will give you a more electric kind of greener piece. Ah, there you go, Rashmi. Better. So this is still dark. This is still too light, right? And the edge, I like this edge down here. This is still, you need to work on this. So you need to make this a little bit darker.
Okay.
Right? More of the complement.
Okay.
You're getting there though. Honey, these looking great. Are you having fun? See how Onyx got these. And she's making little fruits. Go ahead and make little fruits. If it's boring to do spheres, you can totally make little fruits.
I'm not really sure what is this blue one, but well.
Right. Maybe, so here, I'll just create a little value. While I'm here, I'm going to create a little value scale of light, cool, and dark colors. I'll give you a little. So Sandra, this will help, I think. I will create this, although, here, hold on. I'll do it like this. So as we know, generally reds are warmer, yellows are warmer, oranges are warmer, and blues, greens, and purples are cooler. However, within each color, there is a warm and cool version. So let me see if I can lay this out for you, and I'll take a picture of it. So I'll show you the cool and the warm of each one.
I don't think we can't see it.
I'm making it right now.
Oh, okay.
No, cobalt and cerulean are not good colors for this, Nina, neither of them. You really want, both of them have too much white in them. So they're, there we go. So they're not really pure pigments. As what you want is ultramarine. And here, I'm going to send you, I'm going to make it across, I'm going to making it right now. I mean, I can make it up here, I suppose, if you guys want me to block what I'm doing here. So this is ultramarine, that's phthalo. Here is cadmium. Here is quinacridone. Here is lemon yellow. This is like lemon yellow, and this guy is like, here, hold on. Ugh. There's cad yellow medium. Here is a lemon yellow. All right, so this is cool. Whoops. Cool and warm. Ultramarine blue. Cadmium red. Cadmium yellow. This is phthalo blue, quin red, and lemon yellow. So cerulean, cobalt, all of those have white and other pigments mixed into them, so they aren't as good for mixing. They create more muddy colors because they've got more in them, right? Getting there, Needy, getting there. I think you lost your light a little bit. Just keep practicing, don't worry. This is not about getting this perfect. Here, hold on. I'm gonna take a picture of this right now. Here we go. There you go. So there's your cool and your warm colors. So if you're finding that you're not getting the desired result, you might want to switch from a warm to a cool, or a cool to a warm. Julia, nice. Yep. I can see this is working for you. I can see this is working for everybody, quite frankly. You guys are making great progress. Hey, buddy, come on over. Come on over, say hi to the people. Come here. He's like, I don't care. I'm saying hi to the people. I'm stalking around being a lion. I am a lion. Come on, Boo. I like this, nice and messy. I want you guys not to get discouraged. Like I said, don't get discouraged with this. You're just learning how the material works. Notice how different it is. Notice how easy it is to lose your kind of lights to your darks. Notice how easy it is to lose your edges with watercolor. This whole exercise is designed to help you see that. So the next time we paint, you know what it does. Notice what happens when you paint wet on wet. Notice what happens when you paint when things dry. Notice what happens when you mix a cool or a warm color in with the complement. Notice the difference that it makes. All right, so now I'm going to look up Tony because I feel like he said something about what happened to him. It sounded just awful. Here we go. So you guys want me to read this to you? This
Yes,
is
please.
his, okay. I blame David. What a ham. Over the years, my friends showered me with epitaphs such as healthy as a horse and the man who never falls sick. So it was perhaps inevitable that my no hospital streak was to be broken. And how? Here, hold on. I'm going to, yes. Can we mute that? Annika, I'm going to mute Annika. It was in mid-November that I woke up with red and inflamed eyes that my nephew was quick to dub dragon eyes on a video call. I had blurred vision and could not read or work on a laptop, nor could I tolerate bright lights or the sun. These were peak COVID times and I hadn't stepped out of the house in 8 months, but after a teleconsultation proved futile, a hospital visit was deemed necessary. I was diagnosed with uveitis, and my eye doctor ordered a uveitis, uveitis.
And what is that?
My eye doctor ordered a battery of tests to determine the cause. It's an infection. While starting him on steroid eye drops to reduce inflammation. Progress was slow, and 3 weeks later, I woke up with painful and swollen ankles. My proteins were surging. I had tested negative for COVID, tuberculosis, rheumatoid arthritis. I developed a persistent dry cough, had lost my appetite, and just wanted to lie in bed all day. My EGC and chest x-rays were normal. My vitamin D levels were abysmal. Frustrated, I switched to another eye doctor who confirmed the uveitis diagnosis. Oh my God. He passed out in the bathroom, sweating, cut himself, and he woke up on the bathroom floor. Let's
Wow.
see. Yes, hold on. So I'm trying to like sort of specialize it.
That
Yeah,
sounds
and
like
he's
the
still on
heart.
leave.
Sarcoidosis. It's an autoimmune disease that attacks the eyes, the lungs, the joints, and other organs and has no cure.
Oh my God.
But can be treated with steroids.
Yeah.
He said, and he's lost 13 kilos, which he was really proud of. So yeah, so he had this horrible autoimmune disease that just kept attacking different parts of his body. Can you imagine this happening during COVID? Like
Yeah.
and many of the symptoms mimicked COVID. So yes, I'm not surprised we did not see Tony, but I'm hoping maybe he'll come back when he feels better. Although maybe it won't be fun for him to be dealing with screens, because it probably is like tough on the face, tough on the eyes. What's that, Sandra?
Well, he's being treated, so maybe
Yeah.
It's being treated with steroids, it says, and sometimes it goes away on its own.
Yeah. It's but it sounds pretty awful, and it sounds very specific, right? Like, because you like first it's your eye, then it's your ankle. What is going like?
It attacks your lungs as well.
Yeah, then you can't breathe, right? Like it attacks everything. So
I have migrating arthritis, so that's pretty much how it feels. But you know, one day you wake up and you can't move a leg, and the next day you can't move an arm, and But I'm being treated too. So, but that when it started, it was like that. I couldn't move, I couldn't do things, but now I'm being treated. So
good. And do you take steroids too? Does that help?
I did shortly. I did for like 3 weeks, and now I'm on a long-term antibiotic. So I'm eating antibiotic for 2 years.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's some things that are probably long-term and some that are short, right? Like that sort of help.
It probably goes in flares, you know, like most autoimmune.
Right. They're probably triggered by all kinds of things, stress, changes in temperature. Like I can imagine all kinds of fluids levels. Sandra, getting there. I think the only thing we need to work on is, I think just get a little bit, I like this one. This one is perfect. It's hard, isn't it? Go ahead and feel free to make your dark shadows here darker once they dry. I think that will help pop I think your spheres are better, but they're being set off by something that's the same value in the cast shadow. So once you,
cast shadows are not dark enough.
Yeah.
I'm having a problem with the mixing.
Yeah, it's hard. It's not like, as you can see, mine don't look fantastic either. So it's not like I'm not, but these are great. And by the way, Emma, great. These are great. Good job. This is like I said, this is not easy, but later you will be happy you did it because you'll have gotten out of your system a lot of, you're practicing a lot of what we're going to be working with as we go forward. In fact, next lesson is really great. You'll love it because it's very satisfying.
You mean to look
nice, looking good, Diana. Oh, cutie, look at his face. Cats have just the most fascinating faces. You could stare at them all day.
I like this chunkiness of this cat's face.
Yeah, and I was appreciating his long sort of mouth smiley thing happening.
Yeah.
Come here, Boo. Come here. Come here, Boo. Come here. Come here. Come here and get a hug. Yep. And then maybe, no, you're not. No, you're just losing your little mind. You want to go out again? I'm noticing here that my edge got too hard on my orange, so I'm using water to kind of try and blend it a little bit to soften that. Kind of works. It's careful. You want to be careful though, because you can use too much water and then it can blank out your results. You can like sort of water down your results. You still want it to have that. I think that's the tricky part. Oh yeah, that's a little bit better. I'm trying to keep in that. If you can, keep this little edge here light.
So the edge is on the object, obviously, not the shadow.
It's on the object, yeah. So what happens is, like I said, light comes here. This is the lightest part. This gets slightly darker. And then as it turns around, it gets darker and darker. But at the very edge, you'll see it gets lighter because it's turned around and another light source is hitting it. Come here, bub. Come here. Come here. Come here. Boob. Okay. Oh yeah, Sandra, much better. See what that does? That really highlights.
Looks like shadows now.
Yeah, that effect of too much water is really cool, Anik. Nice. Julia, good. Good, you guys, you're getting it. Getting it. We're just playing around. Make little fruits, make little vegetables. Keep making spheres. Let's see. Hold on.
Thank you, Rabbit. He's lying on my other spheres.
Because he can feel your excitement. They know.
I just want to get into that zone we're in, you know?
Rashmi, this is the same value. So so once again, honey, I think you're going too dark here. You're going too dark in your light in this area. So you need to get this area, you're getting too light, too dark. So you need to stay very light in this area, and you need to mix more blue in with your purple, with your orange. What is this? Is this blue and what do you?
Yeah, that's blue and orange.
Right. So you need to mix more blue in with your orange, so you have a darker orange, right? A little bit more, not a lot more, but.
Can I go on top of this? With a
Yeah, absolutely. Did you see me just do that? Didn't you see me just do
Yeah.
that? Yeah, that's what you can do. Yes. But make sure you don't go too dark, because well, anyway, do it. Yes, you can go on top. It's particularly helpful when it dries.
Dries quite fast.
Yeah, but still sometimes not fast enough, you know.
Because you have to wait till it dries.
You have to wait till it dries. It's a funny thing, watercolor. Right.
So can I ask you what you think of the color of my background?
Yeah, always ask me that question. Here, let me see.
Yeah, it's always the constant.
It's always the constant question. Let's see. I would say, oh, I like the color of the background. I mean, what's the color of the kitty going to be? I think it's a little.
It's going to be blue purple, kind of.
I think I need to see the finish. I think the background is fine for now, Diana, and we'll adjust it as you get more finish. That's going to be a finishing touch. Like right now, it works to provide contrast and popping, but you may change it once the kitty's finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it looks like the more I paint on it, the more blue and purple he gets.
Right, because that's what it wants to be.
Yeah, he's a gray cat. It's a gray cat with some
purpley
pink patches and.
Have fun.
But
Hi,
he's
Boo
a
Boo.
gray cat.
Say hi to Sandra. Wants to see you. Come here. Come here. Sandra wants to see you. Oh, here he is. I got him. I got it. Here, hold on. Let me see if I
Oh,
can
it looks so
add.
heavy.
Oh, he is really heavy. 14 pounds. Here, hold on. Here he is.
That's
There
insane.
he is. Hi. Hi.
Hey, big boy. This big girl is 9 pounds.
Wow.
That's quite a difference.
Yeah, from the teeny tiny baby kitten, skinny little scared kitten she was.
Yeah, but I mean, he is younger. And
Oh,
he's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
quite
He's
obese.
massive. He's massive. There's no question. And it's so funny because he loves to be held like this, like flipped up. He just automatically assumes. See, he's like, oh, yeah. Hello, Boo. He gets all soft and like kind of floppy in my arms.
That's really nice.
He's such a good boy. I mean, except when he's not, but I mean, like, in general. Yeah, Nina, we will definitely do a watercolor cat. Yes, we do. Nina wants to know if we're going to do a watercolor cat in class. Yes, absolutely, we will. Yay! I can see, by the way, Nina, your watercolor experience. It's showing up in your exercises. It's very nice. And I know this is a very basic class, you guys. Like I said, everything else is going to be, we're going to be painting things. And when this section is over, I'm looking right now for a watercolor teacher who will be able to keep offering watercolor classes. I just haven't found the right one yet. Yeah, I know. I think it would be really fun. Oh, Needy, there you go. You got it. You got it. You got it. Yeah, girl. You got it. You got it, Needy. You got it. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
Really?
Perfect. Yes. Very nice. Do another one. Now do 20
Okay.
more.
Yeah, it's Indian motivation, you know, to do as many as I can.
Yeah. You're doing good. You got it. Yeah, Nina is saying, I'm learning a lot, especially with the color wheel. We're going to be talking a lot about mixing. So one of the reasons that we do, there are two reasons that I like to paint with you guys, have you do a paint along with me. One is that I can address brush marks for specific things. The other is we can address the mixing. So this is the basic mixing rules. And then, and some of you remember them from acrylic, right? We learned these in acrylic. They're similar, but of course the technique is much different, right? Because of the watercolor. But we will practice like all the mixing, like we're going to do lemons one time. We're going to do a cat sometime. We're going to do a couple of still life objects in white so that you get, you know, used to the idea of working with white. I'm hoping we might even get to do a
animals that have white fur, like pandas or.
Yeah, exactly. All white thing. Yes, we will do a white animal, and maybe that's a good idea. That's a way to do it. We might do like a white cup, like a white flower, and then maybe a white animal, so that you can practice with the white. White is a really important aspect, as I said, of watercolor and how to deal with it, because the point is there are very few areas that are actually, oh, ouch, sorry, hang on. There are very few areas that are really white. Most of the whites are grays, which you'll get to mix, right? So that's what we learn with white, is that white is not so white. There's a lot of subtle mixing with white. And then the white showcases it. I guess like everything, I'm always interested in the takeaway, add a little bit, take away a bit, add a little bit, take away a little bit. And that's kind of more extreme with watercolor because you're already marking off an area as not to paint because that's your whitest area. So it's a fascinating, practice. Oh, Natalia. Oh, I love these, girl. You got it.
Very light.
They're
Very light.
perfect. They're perfect. And I love the drips. You know me, I love the drips. So,
Yeah.
so we will be copying, we will be doing a still life tomorrow in beginning drawing. We will be copying a still life painting on Sunday, or maybe part of one, to start to learn how other painters deal with the still life. And then we're going to set up our own still life, which I'm very stoked about. So should be fun.
Oh, and can I ask, will you be switching to oil on Sunday already?
That's a really good question.
Like,
Yeah, I might just switch over to oil.
okay.
I will switch over to oil, and I'll make sure everybody knows that. Yes, I'll switch over to oil, and or me. Yeah, I think I will switch over to oil because I think it's time. Rashmi, by the way, I did not record last week's class because it was kind of a catch-up class, so it wasn't as interesting. But all the other classes going forward will be recorded, so they'll be available for you. Yeah, why don't I switch over to oil? I'm all like Little Miss complainy about acrylic. Diane's gonna be like, you're gonna miss acrylic. Like, wait, you get oil and you'll be bothered that you can't do the things you can do with acrylic. It's funny how you get into one mode and then like kind of switch over. Anyway, yeah, you get used to it. At the beginning of January, I hadn't done an acrylic painting in months. Now I have all these acrylic paintings, and I did a couple bigger ones, and now I've been working in oil, but more acrylic lately. Okay, what's going on here? Ooh, Annika, very nice. But the only thing, and it's always for you,
Yeah.
your values is those edges, is the soft edge. The hard edge is great. Just practice the soft edge. But other than that, you got it. So I would take a little water on your brush and see if you can softly push in a lighter. Ooh, Olga, you're having fun. That's wonderful. Do you see how Olga's done it? You see, that's the kind of, that's what we're going for. Okay, boo. He's going crazy. All right. Toot, toot, toot. Can you guys believe like almost 2 hours has gone by? Does it feel like it?
Yeah.
Diana's like, I know you have a big show today, don't you, Diana?
Yeah.
Is it a live show or is it a online?
No, everything is recorded. I'm trying to upload it now while we're doing this.